Good morning, guys. Welcome to the Tungal Annual classes. In the last class, we have studied the thermodynamics and thermochemistry. Under that, we have seen the scope of thermodynamics and as well as the limitations of thermodynamics and thermochemistry, right? And along with that, we have studied the discussion of important terms of thermodynamics. Under that, we have seen some important terms such as a system, surroundings, and boundary, right? What is a system? System is anything which is under experimental investigation is called as system. Excluding system, everything in the universe will be considered as surrounding. And anything which is separate system and surroundings is called as boundary. And I think we have already seen the different type of boundary. A boundary can be rigid or a boundary can be non-rigid, it can be conducting, non-conducting, and we have seen the different types of boundaries. I think we were discussing about the types of systems or classification of systems, right? Let us continue with the classification of systems or types of systems. Types of systems, right? Systems are classified based on two aspects. They are classified into 5 types. What is the first classification? Based on boundary. Based on boundary, and the second one is based on composition. Based on the composition. Based on the boundary, systems are of 3 types. Open system, closed system, and isolated system. Right? We'll see one by one. And based on the composition, right? Systems are of 2 types: homogeneous and heterogeneous. Heterogeneous systems. Now, let us discuss one by one. Let's see what is meant by open system. Right? The system which can exchange. The system which can exchange both matter and energy with the surroundings is said to be an open system. Right? What we can say an open system? System that can exchange both matter and energy. Matter and energy with surroundings. Is called as open system. Basically, system having at least one side imaginary boundary. What is required? One side of the system should be have imaginary boundary. If at least one side there is an imaginary boundary, then the system can exchange both matter as well as energy with the surroundings. For example, you can take the example of tea in an open cup. Right? Suppose you have taken, assume that this is a cup of tea in which you have taken tea. Okay, what happens if you keep this hot tea cup in the open atmosphere? After a while, what happens? The tea in the cup gets cold. Right? That means what? The cup, if you are considering this cup as a system, everything around this cup will become surrounding. Generally, the entire universe we will consider the surrounding, but the surrounding which is in immediate contact with the system will have a change, or it will interact with the system. Right? Now what happens? It gives a heat to the surroundings. Right? And after a while, if you leave it for this cup for 2 hours or 3 hours of time like that, if you leave it for several hours in the open room, then what happens? The quantity of the tea in the cup gets reduces because of the vaporization or evaporation. So that means what here, this open cup is exchanging both matter as well as the heat with the surrounding. So that what we can say this as considered as open system. What is the condition for an open system? At least one side of the system should be imaginary boundary. It should contain an imaginary. What is meant by imaginary boundary? So here see, there is no any distinction between the system and surrounding. You have to imagine a certain sort of boundary here which is separating this system from the surrounding. So that is called as imaginary boundary, right? A system which can exchange both matter as well as energy with the surroundings is called as open system. And what is the required condition for an open system? An open system should contain at least one of the side as a imaginary boundary, right? Now let us see second one. What is the second one? The second one is closed system. Now if you are talking about the closed system that can exchange energy but not matter with surroundings, right? A system which can exchange the energy with the surroundings but it cannot exchange the matter with the surroundings is said to be what? Closed system, right? What is the example here? The nature of boundary of a closed system should be it consists diathermic or conducting boundary. What it contains? Conducting boundary it consists. For example, we can take tea in a closed cup. This is a tea cup. You are closing this with a cap. Now, what happens? Leave this cup in the room for a while. What happens? The tea gets cold, right? If you leave it for several hours like that, what happens? The quantity of the tea in the cup won't change, because since the top of the cup is being closed, there is no way for the matter to be exchanged. Here, what happens? Here there will be an equilibrium with the vapor phase as well as the liquid phase of the tea, which will be the quantity of the matter remains constant. But because of the diathermic bond, what happens? Heat will be exchanged with the surroundings. Right? This is the meaning of what is this? Closed system. And what is the third type? The third type is isolated system. Let us see what is meant by isolated system. System that exchanges neither energy nor matter with surroundings is called as isolated system. Basically, this type of system consists adiabatic boundary. What it consists? It consists of adiabatic boundary, because this is the classification based on the boundary. What is meant by adiabatic boundary? The boundary which will not allow the exchange of heat through the it and between the system and surrounding is said to be what? Adiabatic boundary. Right? Now, if you consider, example can be given as tea in a thermos flask can be given as an example. What is meant by thermos flask? Thermos flask will try to maintain the temperature. The tea remains hot in thermos flask for a while. It remains hot for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours. And what about later? After 2-3 days? Right? Generally, the simple definition of isolated system is that a system which cannot exchange which can exchange neither energy nor matter with the surroundings is said to be isolated system. And generally, there is no perfect isolated system in the universe. Right? Anything perfect isolated system is not observed so far. Even though this thermos flask maintains the heat of the tea for several hours, but it won't maintain it for several days. If it is a perfect isolated system, whatever may be the time, even after years, if you are opening that thermos flask, the tea should be found to be hot. Right? That is the meaning of a thermos isolated system. For example, let us try to understand this in a better way. Suppose if you are considering this water bottle as a system. Now, if you are taking this open water bottle, now all the sides of this bottle is being having a boundary, which is a real boundary, but on the surface of this water bottle there is no boundary, but you have to assume it as an imaginary boundary. So this water bottle is having one of the side as an imaginary boundary, so it can be considered as open system. And if it is an open system, what happens? It exchanges both energy as well as matter. Suppose if this bottle is been taken from a refrigerator, it will be little bit what, cold. Then if you are keeping a cold bottle in the open temperature water, it absorbs the heat from the surroundings. Suppose if you are placing a hot bottle in the room, it gives the heat to the surroundings. And if you are leaving this bottle in this room for let us leave this in today and let us come and see tomorrow, then what happens? The quantity of the water in the bottle gets reduces, because the matter will also get exchanges with the surroundings. So that we can consider this open bottle as an open system. Suppose if I keep the cap to the bottle, what happens? Now all the sides being closed. But what about this boundary? Is it adiabatic? No, this is a plastic bottle, so it can't stop the flow of heat exchange. So now it will stop the exchange of water. Water cannot be exchanged with the surroundings, but it can exchange the heat with the surrounding. So this closed bottle can be considered as a closed system. Suppose in place of this bottle, if I take a thermos flask, and if I keep the water in it and I close the cap, then that will become that. In that case, it won't exchanges neither water nor temperature to the or heat to the surroundings. Then we consider it as a closed system. Hope it is clear, because we are going to frequently use this terms open system, closed system, and throughout the chapters. For that purpose, we need to be clear with these terms. Hope it is clear so far. And let us see the remaining types based on the composition. Now, based on the composition, system is of two types. What is the first one? Homogeneous system. What is meant by homogeneous system? System having uniform composition throughout, or system having only one phase throughout is known as homogeneous system required. For example, what is meant by composition? If you take any portion of the system, it contains the same constant element and same constant of the matter, then it is said to be having uniform composition. And what is meant by single phase? The system which is having only one phase throughout the system, then it will be called as homogeneous system. For example, you can say pure solids, and miscible liquid solutions. We can say miscible liquid solutions. The liquids which can mix with one another can be considered as homogeneous system or homogeneous mixture. And mixture of gaseous mixture can also be considered as a homogeneous system. And what is the second one? Heterogeneous means system which is not having uniform composition or throughout, or having different phases is known as heterogeneous. Right? You can give the examples of this heterogeneous mixture. Any system which is having more than one phase can be considered as heterogeneous. When it is having more than one phase, the composition of the mixture will not be uniform throughout the system. For example, we can give an example of mixture of solids, mixture of immiscible solids. That is, suppose if you take a mixture of sand and salt, right? It won't be mixed uniformly, right? And don't say it is having different phases. We will take the mixture of water and sand. There will be two phases. And better take the mixture of immiscible liquids. Immiscible liquids means mixture of water and oil. This type of examples can be given in the heterogeneous system. This is the classification of system. And let me ask you a question. Human body, we have seen all the type of different systems so far. Let me ask you a question. Human body is, whether it is an open system, example of open system, or closed system, or isolated system. Give a thought about it. Look at the question. What the question is asking. Human body is an example of open system, closed system, or isolated system, or none of the above. Generally, our body can be considered as a system. So, if you consider your body as a system, okay, of course, our body can be considered as a system, and if you are considering your body as a system, everything will become surroundings, and the skin which is separating you from the surroundings will be considered as a boundary. Now, try to think about once what type of system can be our bodies. So, suppose if it has to be an open system, what is the condition? It should exchange both matter and energy with the surroundings, right? What is the nature of us? Do we exchange the energy with the surroundings? Do we exchange the energy with the surroundings? Do we exchange the matter with the surroundings? Alright? Suppose we are not exchanging energy and matter with the surroundings, we will be considered as isolated system. Suppose if we are exchanging only energy but not matter, then we will be considered as closed system. Okay? Hope you got the answer. Very good. Our human body can be considered as an open system because we exchange both matter as well as energy with the surroundings. We consume food and we also exchange the unwanted things, and we also our body, depending upon the surroundings environment, our body gets hot and gets cold, so it gets adjusted to the surroundings in the form of exchanging both energy as well as matter. So this is about it, and after this we will discuss about properties of system, thermodynamic properties of system. We will talk about the thermodynamic properties of system. Right. Let us see what is meant by thermodynamic properties. The properties are variables. The properties are variables which defines state of system. Which defines the state of a system are called as thermodynamic properties. What they are called? Thermodynamic properties. Right? What is meant by state of system? Suppose every system will have certain properties. It will have a certain temperature, certain value, certain mass, certain entropy, certain internal energy. All these variables are said to be thermodynamic properties, because when all these variables are having fixed value, then we say the system is at a particular state, right? And the properties which defines the state of the system are called as thermodynamic properties. And these thermodynamic properties are classified into different types based on the various aspects. We will see all the possible classification of thermodynamic properties. First of all, these thermodynamic properties are basically classified into two types: macroscopic properties and microscopic properties. Let us see what is meant by microscopic properties. Okay, the system having large amount of mass is considered as macroscopic system. Macro means anything big is considered as macroscopic. The system which is having large amount of mass will be considered as macroscopic system, and the properties that are applicable for the macroscopic system are called as macroscopic properties. Right? What is here? What is meant by macroscopic property? System having large amount of mass is known as macroscopic, and properties applicable for microscopic system are known as macroscopic properties. Important thing to be noted on is that thermodynamic properties are applicable only for the macroscopic system. Thermodynamic properties are applicable for only macroscopic system, and whatever the temperature, value, pressure we define, they have the meaning as a whole for the system in bulk quantity. They don't have any meaning for one particle or single particle of the system, right? And what is mean the other word? If one thing is macro, other will be what? And you can perceive the changes in the properties can be perceived by, these changes can be perceived by human eye, right? And important note is that thermodynamic properties are applicable for only microscopic properties. They are not applicable for microscopic properties. What is the second one? Second one is called as microscopic properties. Let us see what is meant by microscopic property. The system having very less amount of matter with a large number of small particles or atoms or molecules is considered as microscopic system, and the properties that are applicable for the microscopic system are called as microscopic properties, and any change in the microscopic properties cannot be perceived by human eye, because as we cannot see them through our naked eye, they are considered as microscopic. And here in this chapter we are not going to deal with any microscopic properties, because thermodynamic properties, all the thermodynamic properties are macroscopic properties. Okay, this is based on the amount of matter. Classification of thermodynamic properties based on the amount of matter. There is another important classification based on the dependency of the property on the amount of substance. Okay, based on the dependency of the property on the amount of substance. Okay, what is other classification? Based on the dependency of thermodynamic properties on the amount of substance on systems of the system. Thermodynamic properties are of two types. That is intensive properties. One is intensive property. The second one is called as extensive property. Right? Okay. Let us see what is meant by intensive property and extensive property. It's very important terms. These two terms are very important. Directly you can get a question from this: intensive property and extensive property. All the thermodynamic properties can be classified into two types, whether it is an intensive or extensive. Let us see what is meant by intensive property. Thermodynamic properties that do not depend upon the amount of substance of the system. That means what? The thermodynamic property which does not depend upon the amount of the substance of the system, whether it is 100 kg, if the mass of the system, whether it is 100 kg or 10 kg or 1 kg, it doesn't matter, the property will remain same. There are some properties which will depend upon the amount of the substances. Those properties are called as extensive properties. What is the opposite of extensive property? Properties that depends upon the amount of substance of the system are called as extensive. Important thing that these properties, intensive properties, are independent of amount of substance. What is this? Amount of substance. Whereas it is dependent of, what is this? This is dependent of substance, amount of substance. For example, because of that, the easy way of distinguishing is that intensive and independent. Let us try to remember this in this way. The property which are intensive are independent of amount of the matter. I. Okay, intensive begins with I and independence also begins with I. The property which is independent of amount of substance are considered as intensive. Okay, though you have understood the meaning, but later it will become confusion which are considered as intensive and which are considered as extensive. For an easy way of remembering, intensive are always independent, extensive are always dependent. If you remember the intensive, obviously you will remember the extensive. right? This is a way of remembering it. Now let us see what is the meaning of it, right? There are some properties which will depend upon the amount of the substance. There are some properties which will not depend upon the substances. For example, let us take assume that I have taken a 1 liter water. I have taken 1 liter water and I have divided this water into. I am dividing this water into 2 beakers. Okay. In 1 beaker I have taken 400 ml and other beaker I have taken 600 ml. Now this is a water which is being split into. This water can be considered as a system. Okay. Now what are the properties that will change and that will remain before and after splitting? Right? See, before splitting, what happens? The color of the water changes. Does it changes? Before and after, the color of the water remains same. Right? Whether it is 1 liter of water, whether it is 100 ml of water, the color of the water will be colorless. It won't be changed. So the property which is not depending upon the amount of the substance is considered as intensive property. Color can be taken as an intensive property. So and take the temperature. Temperature, here the temperature, the boiling point of the water will remain 100 degrees Celsius, whether it is 1 liter water or 100 ml water, right? Is it going to be changed? Temperature is an intensive property which does not depend upon the quantity of the substance. But what are the properties that will vary with dividing mass? Mass will change. Mass of 1 liter water will be different from mass of 400 liter. Density of the water will be 1 gram per centimeter cube. So it will be 100 grams, 1000 grams, it will be 400 grams. This properties, mass is an example of extensive property. And value, here it is having 1000 ml of value, here it is having 400 ml of value, there it is 600 ml of value. What are changing? See, here if you are talking about the what are changing, properties that are changing and that are not changing. Okay, see, what gets changes? Mass gets changes, volume gets changes, right? What are the number of moles get changes, right? Here, what remains? Temperature remains, such as melting point, boiling point. Density remains. Is there any change in the density? These properties, okay, which will not depend upon the amount of the substance are called as intensive properties, and the properties which will change with the or which will depend upon the amount of the substance are considered as extensive properties. Hope it is clear the difference between the intensive and extensive. I stands for internal or intensive or independent on the amount of the substance. Extensive means which will depend external. It will have the external influence. If there is a change in the matter, the property gets changes. I'll give the list of intensive properties and extensive properties. Hope it is clear. Or otherwise, you can also assume that this is the room is filled with the gas. Okay, if you are dividing this room, the properties which gets divided are called as extensive, which remains same are called as intensive. Suppose when you are dividing this room into, what will be the volume of gas? It is going to be 1 by half. Here it is going to be 1 by half. What will be going to be the pressure? Pressure remains constant here and here. That means pressure is an extensive property, volume is an intensive property. Mass is going to be half. So what we can say? Mass is an extensive property, right? And what is going to be changed? Number of moles also going to be 1 by 2. So all the things which are going to be become half, they are considered as extensive. Even after dividing the room into 2, the properties which are going to remain same are considered as extensive. I'll give the list of this intensive and extensive properties. It is clear so far. You have to remember them. These are very important. What are the examples? Density, temperature, right? Such as temperature means the melting point, boiling point, etc. And what is the other? Consider temperature, color can be set, and surface tension, and what we can see, surface tension, viscosity, and what we can say, molar mass, molar value, right? What others can we do? EMF, electromotive force, refractive index. These are all the properties. Refractive index, specific heat capacity, we are going to discuss about all the terms, and molar entropy, molar enthalpy, what we can say. These are the examples of some of the intensive properties: density, temperature, color, specific surface tension, viscosity, molar mass, molar value, EMF, electromotive force, refractive index, specific heat capacity, molar entropy, molar enthalpy. These are all the properties which will not depend upon the amount of the substance, hence they are considered as intensive properties. And if you are talking about the examples of extensive properties, we can say mass, value, what is this? Number of moles, internal energy. We are going to discuss about all these terms. Don't worry. What if you don't know what is internal energy? Enthalpy, gives free energy. Entropy, heat capacity. These are all the substance. These are all the properties. And pressure is also considered as pressure. These are all intensive and these are all extensive properties. Right? In objective question, directly you will get which are the following properties are intensive or which are the following properties are extensive. Simply remember that. See here, if you observe that this internal energy, okay, value, mass, okay, enthalpy, entropy, heat capacity, all these are all what they are extensive. If you keep mole in front of the mass, it becomes molar. Then what happens? Molar mass is an intensive, mass is an extensive, molar mass is an intensive. In front of any extensive property, if you keep mole or molar, then the property becomes intensive. Why? What is mean by mole? Mole is a SI unit of amount of substance. When amount of substance is fixed, then the property will become intensive. Mass is extensive, but molar mass is intensive. What is mean by molar? Mass of 1 mole of particles. When you are defining amount of substance, then it becomes intensive. It will be independent of the amount of the substance. Similar way, see, value is extensive and molar value is intensive. If you keep molar in front of any extensive property, then it becomes intensive. This is an important note to be remembered, right? And here also, enthalpy is an extensive, but molar enthalpy is intensive. Entropy is an extensive, but enthalpy is extensive and molar enthalpy is intensive. The similar manner we can also write molar. Yeah, I already written the molar entropy and molar enthalpy, right? Heat capacity is extensive, but specific heat capacity, right? Heat capacity is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of any substance by 1 degree Celsius. Whereas specific heat capacity is that it is the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 degree by 1 gram of substance. This is for 1 gram, this is for n grams. So if you are fixing the mass, if you are fixing the quantity of the substance, then an extensive property becomes intensive property. Right? This is a very, very important concept. From here we get the direct question, or it will be having application in further chapter also. Hope it is clear so far. Right? Okay. Let me ask a question. Which of the following is resistance property. One is density, second one is specific heat capacity, C is molar value, D is resistivity. Resistance. Okay, try to attend this question. Remaining we will continue the next class. Hope it is clear.